ABRF, improve the meeting experience. And can we start with a round of applause and big thank you to Sarah back in the back of the room. She is our AV technician. She's been killing it all week. So thank you very much, Sarah. And thank you to ABRF for hosting us and making all of this possible. I know they've all been running around and doing a lot of excellent work with this conference. So today we're going to be talking about shared research, resources, and central offices, a winning hand. I know a lot of you guys have already been here for 3 or 4 or 5 days, and you are going to love hearing just a few more references to Vegas and gambling. So I was sure to pepper in a few more of those for you guys throughout our presentation. So we're going to be talking about how central offices and core facilities can work together to create productive and successful relationships. And we have an all-star panelist lineup here to talk about several different perspectives from several different institutions. We've got Jen Prissel from Oregon Health and Science University, as well as Andy Chitty from Oregon Health and Science University. We've got Justine Kigenyi from the Haugland Biomedical Imaging Center at the University of Kansas Medical Center. I am Ben Wright from the Office of Sponsored Programs at the University of North Carolina at Chapel Hill. And we have Alexa Van Dalsem. She is sitting down in the front row. She is our Incura representative for this presentation. She and Justine actually just gave an amazing talk about central contracts and grants offices as well. Alexa is a past chair of Incura Region 7, and she's traveling workshop faculty for Incura as well. In her spare time, she is the Senior Director of the Office of Contracts and Grants at the University of Colorado Boulder. So we're happy to have her here as the Incura representative to share her thoughts about this as well. So really quick, let's just start with a quick brainstorming activity. You guys in the audience, what are some of the central offices that you work with at your institutions on a regular or semi-regular basis? And let's just shout them out. You don't have to raise your hand or anything. HR, accounting. That's awesome. Finance. Tech transfer. All right, everybody, be careful what you say. Let's not incriminate ourselves here. That's awesome. I should have said, don't everyone respond at once, but everyone responded at once, right? But I think we heard most of these, and these are central offices that core facilities work with on a regular basis, just through the normal course of business, right? Things like, obviously the core's home department, homeschool unit, the Office of Research, central contracts and grants. We heard a lot of accounting offices, accounting, finance, cash management, HR, everyone's favorite, right? Even university council, right, or the council at your institution, purchasing services, and then the compliance offices, environment, health and safety, et cetera. We heard a few of those as well. So the question that we are going to opine upon today is, how can central offices and core facilities work together, right? And I promised a couple Vegas themes. So just like a slot machine has various combinations of the icons, there are various models of the ways that core facilities and central offices work together at various institutions, right? And I would even say that it probably, at every single institution, it may look slightly different about the relationship and the interactions between core facilities and central offices. So we have representatives, like I said, from 3 institutions here today to talk about what that looks like at their institutions. They're going to give their perspective. And then we completely acknowledge that there's maybe some of you guys in the audience that are like, we don't have very strong support infrastructure for our core facilities at our institutions. So we're going to spend some time giving kind of some advice, maybe have a therapy counseling session or a discussion about that, right? But we're going to save some time at the end for that as well. So I'm going to get us started by talking about the University of North Carolina at Chapel Hill Research Core Development Team. First, I'm going to do my best Bob Ross impression, and I'm going to paint a beautiful landscape of what our core facilities look like at UNC. So for fiscal year 2024, we have over 140 core facilities at UNC. Yes, that's a massive number. Somebody alluded to the Wild Wild West earlier. That's kind of what UNC looked like. I was just thinking, I'll see if this joke lands or not, but I think Oprah worked at UNC before, and she was like, you get a core, you get a core, you get a core, right? But our core facilities are located across 6 different schools, and obviously I think like 40 or 50 numerous units and campus departments. In fiscal year 2024, our core facilities brought in a total of $40 million in revenue. 32 million of that was internal revenue, and 8 million of that was revenue from external customers outside of the university. In fiscal year 2024, our core facilities provided services to over 2,100 unique sponsored projects across campus, and provided services for over 200 organizations and over 100 universities. And like many of you guys, this is not just customers across the United States, this is customers across the world. F&A generated from core services, which is the F&A that was generated on core services that were billed to sponsored projects, dependent upon the amount of that expense and then the indirect rate of that particular project to which the expense was charged. That was about $8 million in fiscal year 2024, and the total value of research supported, which was the total award value of any sponsored project or award that utilized the core service, was $1.6 billion. So let's talk a little bit about the core facility support infrastructure at UNC. We have several offices that aid in the support of our core facilities. We have the Research Core Development Team, which is located within the Vice Chancellor for Research. I don't think Megan's here, but Megan Kraft is the Director of Research Core Facilities within the Office of the Vice Chancellor for Research. Many of you probably have interacted with her at some point, but she's a wealth of knowledge and a great individual to reach out and speak to about all of this. We also have the OSP Cost Analysis and Compliance Division. That's within our Office of Sponsored Programs. That is the financial compliance office for core facilities. So they are the office that officially reviews and approves core facility rates. We also have the Office of Research Technologies within the School of Medicine. That office is run by Chris Gregory and Kara Clissold. I know Chris is in the audience today, so I have to say nothing but nice things about him. They really have done a tremendous job in providing support to core facilities, and we're going to go into more specifics on that office as well here in just a few minutes. We have the Lineberger Comprehensive Cancer Center as well within our School of Medicine. They own about 20 or so cores and provide direct financial support to a total of about 30 cores across campus. We also have an individual within the College of Arts and Sciences that provides support to their handful of cores as well. So let's talk about the Research Core Development Team. Again, this is a team that is located within the Office of the Vice Chancellor for Research. It's a relatively new team. We were formed about 3 years ago when the OVCR determined that there was a need on campus, right, to provide central office level support to core facilities. And our mission statement, I'll just read it, is to serve as a central resource empowering core facilities to provide the infrastructure necessary for UNC to achieve its research mission. And just the important part that I want to point out here is that we totally acknowledge and understand that we're here to support core facilities, but as a whole, core facilities are here to support our entire research infrastructure, right? Our entire research enterprise at our institution, and the same can be said for any of your institutions as well. So some of the things that we do, we provide support to core facilities all across campus, right? So we're school or unit agnostic. We're happy to provide support and help and assistance to any core facilities across campus. We engage with core facilities and stakeholders across campus. I think this is important to note. We really want to understand the entire core market at UNC, right? The entire core ecosystem or environment at UNC. So we want to not only engage with core directors and core staff, but we want to engage with core customers, with super users, with faculty advisors, with unit and department and school leadership to really understand the entire system of core facilities and all of the primary players in that system at UNC. We created financial reporting tools utilizing Tableau. We administer and support the iLab platform. We have about 62 or 63 cores at UNC that currently utilize iLab. We have a financial analyst whose full-time job is to support iLab and support the cores that utilize iLab. He does it 24/7, 365. We have been collecting information on equipment and service contracts to make more informed and more data-driven purchases of equipment and service contracts. We're currently developing an asset database to collect this information and easily mine data and report off of this database. We also help with general process improvement, and we hold events, training, and outreach to campus throughout the year as well. Our link to our webpage is here. Our QR code is on the screen as well. Feel free to check us out. We are redoing our webpage. It'll look a little bit different in a month or two, but there's a lot of good information for you guys to check out there. I want to talk a little bit about the UNC School of Medicine Core Facilities Advocacy Committee. This is a committee that's administered by the Office of Research Technologies that I mentioned just a moment ago. And this is a committee of faculty within School of Medicine to provide support to core facilities. Some of the things that they do is to determine how to strategically invest funds through a variety of mechanisms: emergency requests, grant matching and cost share, biannual funding request process. They have a voucher program for pilot projects that awards funds to researchers to use specifically in core facilities. Kara Clissold gave a lightning talk on this yesterday during lunch. I hope some of you guys got to listen to that presentation, and if not, hopefully you can check out the recording. But she gave a great, somehow a 3-minute presentation, right, on this entire program that they've really done a good job of spinning out there. And they also help with rate reviews and operational improvements as well. Since fiscal year 2014, CFAC has invested $14.3 million in core facilities, not only within the School of Medicine, but across 6 UNC schools. So they're really there to support not only the School of Medicine, but all schools as well within UNC. And the breakdown in funding is here. Most of their funding goes to equipment. They also, as I mentioned, provide funding for grant matching funds, software, method development, salary support, etc. And their link to their webpage is also down here in the bottom right. And there's a QR code there to their website if you guys would like to check them out. I thought I had missed something on this page, but I think we're good. Okay, here is the contact information for the Office of Research Core Development and the Office of Research Technologies. Our email addresses are noted there. You can also just Google any of our names, UNC, and you can find our contact information that way. But we're always happy to help and chat and meet with you guys. So with that, that is it for UNC. I'm going to turn it over to Jen Prissel, who is going to talk about the Research Administration Partner Pod program at Oregon Health and Sciences University.
Sorry.
I think I got it right.
It's fine.
I think I did it.
I mean, it wasn't my idea, so I can't even take the credit or the blame. Thanks a lot, Ben. This is weird. I'd rather be sitting out there talking to you, and now I'm too close. Can I have a raise of hands? It's helpful for me to know who I'm talking to. Administrators up. Core directors, PIs, scientists up. Oh, let's try this. You do both? Oh, okay, cool, thanks, that's very helpful. I mean, it was half and half, just to be honest. I'm sure you were counting. So thanks for having me. Again, I really appreciate the opportunity to talk about RAPP and what we've done at OHSU. On behalf or in conjunction with the cores, I don't know how many people know about OHSU because it's in Portland, Oregon, not in Portland on the other side of the country. But the Research Administration Partner Pod was developed with cores in mind, and I guess I should just go forward here. So OHSU in Portland, Oregon, we have 18, and Andy might correct me, maybe it's 16, but maybe tomorrow it'll be 22. It's hard to decide. We have a lot of cores, we have a lot of people. We are the only research academic healthcare center in Oregon, and if you look us up, you're gonna see a lot of notes about legacy, so I'm not gonna get into that today. Please don't ask me questions about that. I will not answer those questions. Let's see, we have a lot of students, which also helps the cores, trainees. We're almost at $600 million in award dollars. And the invention disclosures I thought was important because we know that the cores are doing a lot of great science that leads into inventions, and then I listed a few here. So this is from 23, 24 is on our website, and with that being said, I think we should level set for just a sec, if you don't mind, since we all come from different backgrounds. I'm going to use a lot of words that you're going to be like, wait a minute, and I know we were told from the teacher to not ask questions in the middle, but if I say something that you didn't get, just pop up your hand and I'll grab you. I will not grab you, I will just, don't tell HR I said that. I will acknowledge your question. Right, and by the way, I became director of RAPP, now senior director, whoop whoop, they've decided to try to keep me with that, I think. I was a department administrator at the U of A in Tucson, so shout out to Cancer Center in Tucson, and then became like a research administrator, and someone earlier, maybe Alexa, said that this is an on-the-job training thing, right? Like I didn't go to school for this. I actually ironically have a master's in counseling psych, which I use every day. So it did not go to waste, honestly. It's very useful. I love my core directors. Some of them are in the room with me. I love them, but it's very helpful. Okay, so going back. So department administrator, research, learned a lot about grants, and then now have a team of 23 people who provide pre- and post-award support for what we started with cores. There were 2 people, plus a quarter of me. And now we're 23 because we took on the basic sciences departments at OHSU, and now we're just keep growing. I think it's because we're doing the right thing, and I'm going to get into why that is. So, okay, level set. So RAPP is a pod makes a pre and a post, right? Makes sense. It means that you have an individual human you know to contact. We chose really early on to never use a generic like RAPP admin at ohsu.edu, RAPP pre-award, blah, blah, blah. No, you know his name is Dylan, right? Steph, like you know him. And Megan is your post-award person, you know exactly who to contact, which no offense to Alexa, she's amazing, but then you don't have to contact our OPAM or SPA. Ooh, it's on here somewhere. Yep, the second one. Ooh, look, it's almost like I rehearsed this. That you don't have to contact them because we're your department level people. We should know you, we should know what you're doing, we should know what's coming up in your pathway to research portfolio. If I say USRs, I'm just saying the cores at OHSU. Some of you know that, but I just want to make sure. Research administration for us means everything in between. My crew will not help you with HR. I know, even though that word earlier was, I think, booed in the audience. I'm not quite sure if that was the case. But I do. That's the benefit of my background. I was an associate director for one of our large institutes for research for employee wellness. And so I take great pride in having a great, robust background in 11 years at OHSU where I can find the little pockets of people that aren't always easily accessible to core directors or core staff. So if you come to me and say, my lab hasn't been cleaned out or my core hasn't been cleaned, we just need the basic stuff done. Why is that? I can find a custodial calendar and contact the manager and let them know as soon as possible. I've asked my staff to not do that because I want them focused on your pre and post-award work. I don't want them focused on, bless you. Labor distribution. This is going to come up again in a couple times. This is the effort and how it's charged against grants because we actually help a couple of our cores charge against grants instead of just that price fixed agreement. What's it called? Yep, you know what I'm talking about. Okay. PI. Also, a lot of your core directors, you don't go by PI. We in RAPP call you all PIs because you're in our investment model. At OHSU, we have faculty, we have staff scientists. We consider you a PI. If you're eligible to be a PI of a grant, which, by the way, we try hard to help everyone become PIs, even though OPAM doesn't want us to. I know there's legality issues around that, but if you have the background and we can prove on paper that you're worthy of being a PI, then we want you to be. Great example is RAPP took over an HR grant, which, again, who knew? It was the chief people officer who we had to list as a workforce development PI. She didn't want to be a PI. She didn't know why she was being asked to be a PI, but it was a $2.2 million subaward from a United Group in Portland. And we got all that money to then put into all these great developmental programs to help us increase the pathways for development. So I'm talking about CNA, dental assistants, you know, all the jobs that I have had and don't ever want to have them in. Right, and then, so core directors as the leader of the lab core, and I know we have a big conversation coming at OHSU once this federal government shenanigans are done about how we can best have a succession plan for core directors, whether they're faculty or not, and I'd love to have a separate conversation with some of you. Maybe we should start that online, like Reddit, like whether or not they should be full faculty or they should not be. I'd love to hear that conversation. So holler if I missed some of these, if there's more. So fall of 2020, we all had nothing going on. Remember that? Right. So I decided to take on a quarter time of RAPP director and my full-time job as a senior, or as an associate director, do an HR operations finance and grants. So I had a small crew, we had 80 faculty, but then I took on RAPP because I saw the need. Huron came in, regardless of how you feel about them, they were great with us. We had a quick survey and across campus saw that we had lots of people touching grants along the way, but not the experts. So it got in your way, talk about red tape, right? So we decided to hire a pod as a trial, and that was funded out of the Chief Research Office. I get a lot of questions about funding, and we can talk about that more if you choose. So the Chief Research Office piloted or funded our pilot, quarter of me, 2 other humans, and had to hire from within, which as you know is also a great way to get Jen Prissel listed on OHSU's documents as like, we don't trust her, because then I had to poach from within. It didn't go over well. But we also found that the cores were the ones, and I hate to use this word, but it's the have-nots. So we, as cores, you guys usually never have pre and post award. You don't have advocates who will step up into the light and say, we need more help or support over here. So in comes RAPP. We noticed right off the bat, the low-hanging fruit for us to grab was like 11 out of the 18 or whatever was at the time that needed pre and post award. And they didn't subscribe to the, we have a regular cycle, we're doing RO1s at this intervals. No, it was the random travel conference grant. And I think what helped was that they didn't have to think anymore about who was gonna help them write it, create a budget, create a justification. Even look at the timeline. You know, when you read a request for a grant application, sometimes just the timeline alone will baffle your mind. You can't think about everything else in between. So the pre-award person in this case really came in handy and was able to say, let me do all the background work and we're gonna meet. In the first year, we were overwhelmed with all the missions because little did we know that it was not just the cores who had lackluster support. So little did we know that the hospital missions were gonna come after us and ask for support. So first year, all of a sudden, Pod A was overwhelmed and saying, if we don't get some help, I'm gonna have to go. The last one was OPAM is our spa. They love us more now than ever because they are not department level. They love our faculty, they love our cores, but they do not have time to talk to everybody, right? There's 22 of them. We have time, we make the time, and we also, I'll get to this in a little bit, but we made the decision early on that we needed to learn more, because like Alexa, we unfortunately did not know what we should have known. And that's also one of my new campaigns at OHSU is why don't we know more about cores when they're the essence of our research? They touch everybody across campus, and we just do not understand how valuable that is. And in alignment with RAPP, well, I better go to this one, sorry, yep. The parallel that I wanted to draw was that ironically, when we were developing RAPP 5 years ago, I don't think anybody realized just how parallel we sit to cores. That we brought in the expertise of a pre and post award people. They do have very set skills. It's very interesting. I have seen a unicorn or two where they can do both sets. But like you want to hire people in your cores, you want core directors who actually have that expertise and that skill set. Same thing in RAPP. So phase 2, now we're in July of 22. Again, really, life was boring back then. We hired Pod B, so a pre and a post-award pod. They took on some extra activity. Pod C came on. There's that Ock Health Science Institute. That was my old institute, so they were easy to kind of bring into the mold. We got some kickback that people didn't really like it. They thought that we were trying to centralize, as a 4-letter word, if you will, the idea that all pre and post awards should be within RAPP, and that's not at all what we were trying to do, but rather bring like-minded people together like the cores do at ABRF to talk about how we do better work. We know we are stronger together than we are apart, and I'm telling you now to have these 6 staff work together and problem solve together, it was amazing to see how much work they could get done faster and smarter. It wasn't about working harder, but asking questions of each other, just like you guys all do. Oh, there, I said that. And professional growth, and then provides opportunities for small partners to have extra support. This was also weird. We have a poison control center, not a core, sorry to break topic, but they're amazing people working on poison control work in Oregon and the surrounding area. And they have no idea how to administer grants. I hope they're not here, right? And Andy's not gonna tell them. So what was really hard is, like we talked about earlier, this lovely human took a check home and signed it and put it in her checkbook, and it was a grant. And we were like, oh my God, can I have the check back? She's like, well, Wells Fargo has it. I'm like, why would Wells Fargo have this check? Okay, so it was a big, long thing, and of course we got slapped on the wrist. But luckily, because I was there to stand beside her, the detriment wasn't, it was obviously not a malicious intent. It was clearly just something she thought she should do and has apparently done in the past. Which, I did not know that, and then had to step in that, and then my provost was like, okay, should I fire you and her, or just her? And I was like, neither nor, please, yes. And we worked it out, and it was great, because then I was actually there as a faculty core advocate to be able to be like, okay, let's back this up, and like, let's just relax and not get all cranky. Right, so here's our org chart. What I should have done, and I was told I probably shouldn't leave here because clearly, oh, thanks. Oh, because there's a thing on the front, maybe. I'm gonna break it, it's fine. It's just too much to play with. Thanks, though, I appreciate you. Is that I should have surrounded this with OPAM spa. I know, see. I joked earlier that my parents bought a bar and restaurant when I was 7, so I think that helps me just talk randomly to strangers. I should just be pouring tap beer, apparently, as well. Yeah, see the guy in the back's like, yeah, I'll take one of those. So ironically is that, OPAM should be here with us, our spa office, right? And the cores could be connected, but if you look at where it says partners across all missions, see all core directors, and how I call you all PIs often, core directors are there. And I wanted to make the distinction early on in our org chart that without you, we don't exist. We are in a symbiotic relationship, if you will, that we want you to need us, and I think you have needs that we can fulfill. So this has really come in handy at OHSU, where now other groups know RAPP as a go-to resource builder. And I know we're supposed to just do pre and post award, but like I said, my background's in everything else besides pouring beer, so it makes sense that I would be at the forefront. So you can see higher up what we're doing. We do have to report, I have to report to the board as my, I don't report to them directly, but they ask us every so often for a report out. We do an annual survey to all of our core directors and our partners across campus to ensure that we're doing what we said we were gonna do. So Steph, it's coming. We'll look for that Qualtrics survey next week when I have time to do it, yep. And then I also obviously lead the GCAs. Oh, did I say that before? That's a Grants and Contracts Administrator, or GCC is a Grants and Contracts Coordinator. RAPP 1.0 is where we started. We're moving to RAPP 2.0 because things have to change in this era of ever-loving change. So as we move and flow, we need to obviously do that. Let's see, where else was I going with this? Remember? So I mentioned already about the parallel structure to cores, and you can tell that in a day-to-day research administration world, it's never just the research, but that we're all focused on research. So I think once the cores understood that, it took me 52 minutes, and I usually joke a lot, but in this case I'm not, 52 minutes into our first kind of pod meeting with a lovely pod director at OHSU who's been there for a long time. And he could not get it through his head that, yes, indeed, we were not going to charge him back. Because in your brains, what are you charging me, right? What's the going rate and how much you're going to charge me? And I said, no, we're a centralized source, but don't tell anybody that. And he's like, who pays you? I said, well, OHSU does. Okay, do we pay you with indirects? I said, no. Well, who pays you? So during the pilot phase, it was very easy. It was Peter Bar-Gillespie's office. He's our CRO, or was our Senior Vice President for Research. And now we're part of the base budget. So every time we grow, we absorb base budgets from other groups, and then we get bigger. It's not to the detriment of those groups, but rather to the greater good, so we can actually support more people, more cores, et cetera. Why am I telling you this? Oh, so I think my point is that as we get bigger, we don't want to lose track of the cores, but we're also trying to identify ways that we can support cores in other ways. Like I mentioned, are you faculty? Are you a home department that needs, or are you living in a home department? Does that make sense when I say that, like a faculty member? Okay. Again, one of our things on here is not HR, that's my job, but with labor distribution and the fickleness of where we find support these days, it's interesting to have a core director who does not know where their labor comes from or their salary come from, and then to have RAPP untangle the mess. And I think he thought we were the red tape. I think he thought, oh God, they're gonna get in my way, I'm not gonna have to talk to Jen about it, and then the staff's not gonna do a good enough job. And one day we had an hour and 15-minute meeting just to unravel his labor distribution, and his home department had no idea what was going on. And I'm very proud to say that it's because of the post-award person, Megan, from Pod A, that she was able to take the time in her skills and expertise to drill down far enough to say, okay, this is your core directorship, but what's going on with the rest of you? All along he had reduced his FTE because he didn't think he had enough funds. So he was never working, he was never getting paid for his 1.0. So shame on us for not finding it sooner, but yay, we found it, and now he's able to work at 1.0, and we're trying to help him now understand and build his labor into grants or outside of grants so he can obviously do all the great work he's doing. So another story about how Aaron's work was not being valued at an OHSU level. Okay, so I talked about this for pre-award. A lot of folks, if you know what pre-award is, for me, it's why my resume does not say detail-oriented. This is why I hire people who are smarter than me. The timeline, like I mentioned, the budget building and compliance, assistance with applying for all and other grants. Did I bring up the travel grant already? People were like, well, this isn't federal, it's not a state fund. Why would you help us apply for this? Because it's a grant award, foundation awards, anything in between. Internal, external, doesn't really matter. Other support and bio sketches. I mean, who wants to spend 8 hours on their own other support document? Right, yeah, no one. I think I just heard a couple gags in the front row, so yeah. Facilities and resource documents, they're not simple. We know that. We also don't think you guys should be having to do them alone. OHSU has, I don't know, 1 billion, no I'm kidding, 6, 8, 12, T32s, similar idea. Why are we recreating the wheel every time we have to have one of these grants? We are awarded one of these amazing grants. Yep, see, I was expecting that. So now OHSU finally has a T32 office where there's 2 people identified to produce tables for T32 documents. I don't think that would have happened. I'm not taking all the credit for me, but it's because we came together, consolidated our efforts, and said, we really need this at OHSU. This is one of the things I actually talked to Alexa before, this SLU, the service level understanding. This was brought up early on for RAPP, I think probably from here on because they like paper and stuff. But it's been really helpful to meet with new core directors to talk about, again, level set. All right, I say a lot of words, but what does it mean at the end of the day? So in our SLU, it talks about meeting cadence, what you need from us, what we need from you, and a very direct distinction between where we report up through when the bottom falls out, who do they call? It's usually me. I call myself a baloney remover, but not really the word baloney, but you know what I'm saying? Yep. And then, and it also says explicitly, you can expect a response from us within 24 hours. If you do not, we'll have an out of office on that says who you can contact. Because we believe that in a symbiotic relationship, we expect a lot from you as core directors or core staff, and you should expect a lot back from us. So that's actually up on our website as well. Oh my gosh, so I started to write this and then realized it was better with stories and kind of guideposts. I think that, especially Megan and Dylan from Pod A and I, were so misguided about how little support the course had. And this is not a cut to other core leadership, by the way. I just didn't realize that if you had all these other people in your life at an institution, that you really technically then had no one. Does that make sense? Like you think you have like 15,000 people and you're like, oh, no one knows what I'm trying to do here. And because of our misunderstanding or misguided truths about what cores actually do and how big how impactful they are to the research mission, we had to go into it asking exact questions. What does your core do? Who are your customers? How can we provide support to you that maybe is not within the RAPP 1.0 guidelines, but tell us bigger picture. What do you need from us? Also that locating advocacy for PIs, faculty, cores, and research. This, I often get annoyed, don't tell Steph or Andy this, that I get annoyed that there's meetings going on where I think we could provide a valuable input or touch point. And then I hear about them later and I think, oh God, I could have helped there. I could have been part of that. So don't ever hesitate. There's an amazing question in Justine and Alexa's earlier talk about research administration and going to NCURA. Make sure you know who your people are at your own institution. I wanted to say that and didn't because I'm so introverted. I'm just making sure people are paying attention, didn't fall asleep there, yeah. Plus, sorry about that weird wink, yeah, that was weird. Don't tell HR. Because I do think if you don't know who they are at your own institution, you're missing out. You're missing some really, a great relationship that you could start to bolster and start to learn from. The language, again, a great conversation about working with Aaron. Aaron's like, well, I've just reduced my FTE because it was just easier. So you reduce your effort by 0.25 FTE for how many years now because it was easier than having this one uncomfortable conversation. That was horrifying to me. And then, of course, I asked if we could pay him back, and payroll just laughed at me. But at least they laughed at me and not at Aaron. I took it. It was fine. Yep. And, you know, one and the last one are similar, but that getting the due, you know, it came up earlier about how do we track where cores are, where they submit grants and if they're funded and who gets the credit for them. And I know that might sound petty, but if we don't get credit for the work that we've done, how can we then get accolades for all the work and the blood, sweat, and tears we've put in? So this is where I then get to be loud, because this is where you need me to be loud, to be able to be like, okay, in the beginning, the proposal award, or the, what is it called? The pre-proposal questionnaire, we call it the PPQ, that goes into InfoEd. It is a drop-down, but we only have, 20 or whatever. But you just type in electron microscopy. It's funny, the words that the pod has to have to learn now, they're like, are these real words? I'm like, yes, I promise. We're not just, it's not like a punk thing, yeah. Because then when they're funded, we actually get to trail that, right? You get to say, we were part of these 15 submissions this year, we got awarded 6 of them, or 8 on a good year, and now we get to showcase even more what we're doing as a core within our institution. We don't even have great data now, and RAPP's been around for 3 to 5 years. Imagine what happened before that was going on. Our biostats core is really phenomenal, and I will say that thanks to me being loud, this is one thing that maybe you could put on my grow this year, right, is that we actually had to have them say, time out all the PIs across campus. I'm talking about like all school medicine, Knight Cancer Institute, everybody else. You cannot put the core on your grant unless you've had approval from that biostatistician. People are like, well, why not? Okay, I don't know, because it's the kind thing to do. But besides that, if Jody, as the core director, only has 100%, right, 1 FTE, and she's now funded at, I don't know, 137%, that's not going to work. And then NIH is going to be all up in our business, or anybody else, DOJ, DOD, you name it, even state foundations. And then we realize that Jody has to tell them no or transfer the effort over, and that's also not a great way to do business. So we're trying to help the business relationships within OHSU make better choices, and then in turn, Jody and her crew can get the credit they deserve for all the grants that they were on. It also does not help when they don't communicate with OPAM, our SPA institution. So grants are funded, and then when they come in, we have to say no. I mean, the study section approved that biostatistician for a reason, right? They saw their other support, they saw their biosketch, they want that person on there. So it was a very fun, fun conversation. Yep. Let's see. Okay, I think I'm done with that one. Oh, look, am I almost done? I didn't do a timer, so I should have. No one's listening. Okay. So let's see. I think at the end of the day, what I wanted to say is that RAPP by no means is the right answer for all institutions. But what I will say is that we are able to support the cores and missions across campus, right? Because for OHSU, it's the hospital, it's the academics, the provost's office. We have grants now in each one of these groups that RAPP supports that have never had awards before. Because before, they didn't have pre and post award. And now that we're grabbing onto like the basic sciences and rolling them in, we hope to make it an even bigger foundational group at OHSU. And never losing track of the cores that we started with, because they helped us be successful, and we hope that RAPP helped them be more successful, and continuing on that conversation. Thanks, appreciate it. So now I get to invite my friend Andy, who I just quoted like 17 times and put lots of words in his mouth, as one of my probably bosses at OHSU, because I think I work for all of you at some point in time, right, if I'm paid by anybody. So Andy, are you ready to come on up? Awesome, thanks.
Does everyone agree that I owe Jen a big hug?
Oh. I am a big hugger, so if later you need a big hug, yeah. Thanks, Andy.
If I will say that if you need at some point to have someone come and help spice up your virtual meeting, you can send an invite to Jen. She's she keeps the meetings going and happy and moving along, and yeah, really fun to have Jen in any meeting, actually. So I'm really, my portion of this is really easy. I'm only here to kind of talk about the great things that Jen has done. And to relay some of the information that the core directors themselves have said to me about Jen's work. The Biostatistics and Design program has mentioned that they have established a strong and productive partnership with RAPP to provide essential pre- and post-award administrative support. And then I'm going to jump down to the other bolded area. These slides will be available to you, so if you want to look through, I just wanted to put them up there to show you the kinds of things that people said about Jen's group's activities. RAPP's grant management support is indispensable to our operations to ensure alignment and efficiency. The BDP director, biostats director, and program manager meet with RAPP partners monthly to discuss operations. Bioanalytical pharmacokinetics, this is the kind of thing that Andrea would have come to me and asked me to help her with in the past, that I have no idea how to help her with something like this. Over the past few years, they helped Andrea to obtain industry funding to hold an international scientific meeting in Jerusalem in August of 2023. Jen Preisel's RAPP team are a pleasure to work with and have been key in OHSU obtaining funding to support the research activities of the laboratory. In addition, they just did a Murdoch grant, and Jen's group came in and helped them, assisted them in obtaining Murdoch Charitable Trust funding to help them acquire a high-resolution Orbitrap, new Orbitrap instrument. So helped with the philanthropy grants that we were working on. Medicinal chemistry, she's experienced in grant applications, multi-scale microscopy, so the electron microscopy group said that their experience in grant applications that are not typical to the R01 process has been really helpful for them. There's a clear organization of responsibilities there. And she said that this is thanks to how Jen manages her team. Yeah, and the team is very proactive. They will provide monthly reports and send emails in advance to request docs or information needed for grant submission. And the communication helps with facilitating communication with other admin groups. All of this has proven to be very valuable to them. And medicinal chemistry, finally, as a core director and soft money researcher, my situation is very complex, which presents a particularly difficult challenge for the RAPP team, which was what Jen was just talking about. Dylan never fails to supply an updated other support document when I need one for collaborative grant applications. Megan is always ready and willing to perform the near rocket science level calculations required to account for my ever-shifting grant support environment. I could not survive academically without their vital expertise and Jen's unflagging RAPP leadership. So, and with that, I'll turn it over to Justine. I probably should give Jen yet another hug.
Thanks. I'll just put this all in their annual evaluation, because it's really not me, it's all the staff, right?
Yeah, I don't know how I can top that. So anyway, just bear with me. So for some of you that were in the other sessions, I'm not going to repeat a whole lot of this. Most of this you've already seen. So just really wanted to give my experience at the University of Kansas Medical Center and our Imaging Center on how we have been able to partner with a group like Jen's that sits between the Office of Sponsored Programs, Alexa's group, and then the units and core facilities. A little bit about Hoagland, if you are not part of the other organization, the other session. We are an imaging center. We support research endeavors at KUMC and beyond. We have a team of imaging scientists and faculty and staff scientists, and we are also a key resource for major NIH program grants. These are P30s, U54s, U01s, and then support various other investigator-initiated research grants, R01s, R21s, industry, and others. And then we support over 150 PIs and over 200 projects in various stages. That's about me. I do the business operations of the Imaging Center, and then I really rely on teams like Jen's and Alexa's to move our research agenda forward. We have a similar structure such as Jen's, like I said, that sits between central offices and then our units. It's called the Integrated Administrative Support Core. They call it IASC. This group has really positioned itself as a very efficient, knowledgeable group that sits between us end users and then the research offices. They came out of a need to support investigators and departments with no departmental support, sort of similar to what Jen's group was, the have-nots, if you will. And then over time, they positioned themselves to be quite a valuable resource to support those non-traditional grant mechanisms, including some of the work we do in shared resource facilities. I mean, how many of you write S10s every day? No. You have like maybe 3 strikes to write an RO1 in any given year, but with shared instrumentation grants, you only have 1 strike in a year. So really, these are non-traditional. We don't write them a whole lot, but when we do, we really need a lot of support. We need to gather a lot of documentation. We need to collaborate with various teams, investigators, users, administration, and all of that. So a team like this has been really, really helpful to preserve the institutional knowledge, gather all the biosketches, keep them in the right format, gather facilities and other resources, and keep them in one place that they can easily replicate those and update those as needed. And so we talked a little bit about how they do their work. They started out by not charging for their services because they were supporting core facilities and shared instrumentation grants. We typically don't have money to pay for that. But with time, they became very invaluable, and other groups started coming along to where they really needed support beyond what they were providing or getting from central offices to support core work. So like you, Jen, they started expanding to support other units, and then they started charging for their work, but they still do not charge the work of core facilities. Like when we are helping us write S10s and other shared instrumentation grants, they don't charge us for their services. And then some of you might have, who are in the other session, have seen this case study that I shared previously. So between the sponsored programs office, the central office, and this group, we really were able to pull this grant together where we found ourselves in a very unfortunate situation. Our magnet, animal imaging magnet, quenched in April of 2023. And then we really needed to have that replaced. We were faced with a situation whereby we could try to resurrect that magnet. When it quenches, it's a bad word. Like I said earlier, it's not a good thing in the magnet world to have a quench. So this was a 20-year-old magnet. We were faced with a situation of where we needed to pump in $750,000 in helium to try and resurrect it. I mean, it's that crazy. It was $750,000. That was even the lower end to what we needed to pump into liters and liters of helium to try and resurrect that magnet. And the chances of success were very slim, according to the experts. And so we really didn't want to make that investment with limited probability of success of trying to get the magnet back to field. And we had a lot of novel work that was going on in that system that we needed to continue and sustain. And so we made the hard decision not to try and resurrect the magnet, and we had to turn around a shared instrumentation grant in literally 1 month. These are usually due around the end of May, and so we just had 1 month turnaround to try and turn things around. It was really the support of that group, IASC, and then the central office that were able to pull that off. And like I said, we got it funded. Most people submit this. They prepare for about 1.5 years to get it submitted and then to get funded, usually on the 2nd or 3rd strike. But we're able to get it funded within 1 go, so which was really, really helpful. And what made the difference with this group is their consistency. They have staff that have been with the group for quite a while, so they really understand the language of cores. They carry on the institutional knowledge. And then they have dedicated mission to support shared research facilities, cores. And then they sit in the dean's office for research, so they have a strong support to support core facilities. And then they have different staff that for different grant mechanisms. They have a group that's solely dedicated to S10 instrumentation grants. So they keep all the documentations, they know all the processes, procedures, they know who to ask when they need, updating facilities and other resources sections. They have made themselves aware of the management plans, what's needed there, biosketches, trying to update them. Really, they have that knowledge that they keep with them and just really refresh things on the go. It's been really helpful. And then, like I said, they speak the language of shared research resources, and then they serve as a node between core facilities, and then the central office. Central office has a lot going on, as Alexa shared, but this group is solely dedicated to the work of shared resource facilities, although recently they've started supporting other groups, but they have not wavered in their support of shared resource facilities. And really, that was my spiel here. Just wanted to highlight what groups like JENS can really help to really serve as that intermediary between PIs, units, core facilities, and central offices. So thank you for listening. Back to you, John.
Can we get a quick show of hands? How many of you have received a hug from Andy this week so far? Oh, 1, 2. Okay. It's not therapy dogs, it's therapy hugs from Andy. I've seen Andy like 6 or 7 times over the past 3 days. I haven't received a single hug yet. Feel kind of left out. All right. All right. Just wanted to make everybody uncomfortable, including Andy, before we get into this next topic. So, so as I mentioned before in the intro, like we fully acknowledge that there are some of you in the audience that may be saying, hey, that's great that UNC has this core support infrastructure. It's great that OHSU has Jen and the support that she provides. It's great the University of Kansas Medical Center has IASC, right? But what about me, right? Like, what if my institution does not provide that support to core facilities? What if, like Tom Hanks in the 2000 film, Castaway? What if I feel like my core is on an island, right? So we wanted to provide kind of a venue to share some information that the 4 of us thought would be helpful for those core facilities that may be at institutions that do not have as robust of a core support infrastructure as other institutions. So what if my institution doesn't provide support to core facilities or doesn't provide strong support to core facilities? First of all, we wanted to emphasize the importance of engaging with leadership at your institution, right? This can be your department leadership, your unit, your school, whatever leadership you can get your hands on, right? It's important to engage with that leadership. And we also wanted to express the importance of providing impactful language on the importance of your core facility and core facilities as a whole. Oftentimes, you know, leadership may have a financial or an accounting or a business or administrative background, but may not have a science background, right? So it's important that we portray the impact of core facilities, for lack of a better term, in layman's terms, right? And we can do that in 2 ways, right? We can tug at the heartstrings and tug at the pocketbook, right? We can highlight the impact of projects that the Corps has helped. For example, like, hey, did you see this article in the paper about researcher Smith who cured ABC disease? Well, my Corps was an integral part of providing services to that project. My Corps was involved in that project, right? Highlighting some of that impact can be very helpful for leadership to understand truly how important our core facilities are. The other thing is to talk about is to discuss, you know, why it makes business sense to use your core. From the perspective of cost savings, right? You may have better processing time. And then there are some like non-financial things as well, such as the expertise and consulting that your core facility can provide that may not necessarily be available with a third party, or if a researcher was to perform those services in his or her own lab, right? And I will also highlight, like I know ABRF has done a tremendous job recently of having sessions and disseminating information about how to advocate for your core, right? Pulling metrics, ROI. I know it's a really big topic of conversation, and this just goes to kind of further highlight why that advocacy is important. We can also encourage major users to advocate for your core, right? Feed them information, feed them talking points, give them information about the projects that you've been helping, so then they can take that message and further continue to send that message to maybe the leadership contacts that they have or the contacts across the institution that they have. Also wanted to highlight internal advisory boards, even if they're not required, right? Even if your institution or if your grant funding mechanism doesn't require it, internal advisory boards can be very important not only to disseminate information out to your stakeholders, but to receive information back from your stakeholders as well, right? To understand how the core facility can better interact with campus, and again, to spread the message of the importance of the core facility. We also had the idea of engaging with, your department or unit accounting and administrative staff, right? Maybe the accounting technician that provides financial reports for you, or the accounting team or business management team that submits financial transactions for you or performs those HR actions, right? Thank you. Ask if they support any other core facilities, right? Ask if they have ideas that they may have gleaned from other core facilities. Ask questions about your finances, right? What does this number mean? Like, you gave me a report with this number on it. What does it mean, right? All of these things can kind of be opportunities to learn more information about how you can receive better support at your institution, or it can be an avenue to at least beginning that conversation and having that conversation. And hey, just ask if they know of any offices that provide support to core facilities, right? That's always an option as well. Just a couple more. Reach out to other core directors at your institution. I mentioned earlier about opening lines of communication. Feel free to do that, right? The worst thing you can do is ask, right? The core director does not have to be within your unit or your department or even within your discipline, right? Kind of the recharge model, the core facility model is pretty much the same across all core facilities, right? But the services that we provide obviously vary drastically, but the mechanisms and a lot of the challenges that core facilities face are consistent across all core facilities. So feel free to reach out to other core directors or core staff at your institution. Create working or social groups for core facility staff and directors. We have a couple of these at UNC. And, it doesn't have to be a formal group or a formal meeting or anything like that. Just get together with other core directors and other staff at your institution. And just getting together to vent can be helpful sometimes, right? That therapy session. It's a good way to share information, often candidly, right? Where you're not worried about stepping on anyone's toes or saying anything you shouldn't. And solutions can be developed this way. And again, this helps break down the information silos that are all too prevalent at probably most of our institutions. Would also encourage inter-unit conversations, right? Reach out to cores, faculty, administrators, et cetera, across different units that you're not necessarily in. Central offices, departments, accounting, administration teams, right? They often provide services to more than one core or one unit on campus, and they can serve as kind of a conduit of information between your core facility and another core facility. Or they may have picked up and found solutions with another core facility that you may not be aware of until you speak to that individual, who can then say, oh, well, we did this at ABC core, like, let's try it at your core. So that can just be another way to get the feelers out there really at your institution, get the word about your core facility, about your challenges at your institution, to see if you can kind of drum up some of that support, right? If that support does not already exist within your institution. So I think that's all. All of our email addresses and information is included here on this slide. I know we are all happy to chat. If anybody would like to reach out via email and talk to us, we're all happy to schedule a time to chat and discuss any of these things. We do have a couple minutes for questions, if anybody has questions. Yes?
Yeah, we wanted to check in with Alexa, really from the central office. From the central office perspective, how do you find groups like Jen's and I Ask, how do they help enable your work and move it forward in terms of really serving the greater user community beyond even just cores?
You want to come up there, or do you want to use that one?
While she's coming up, I will say that a lot of these things that Ben talked about, some of us do some of them well, and not all of us, probably not any one of us do all of those things well. And I see a lot of things on there that I can't wait to try and boost my capabilities or our capabilities at OHSU.
Okay, there we go.
There you go.
Okay, I'm gonna hold it. I'm stuck. I can be a rapper. So as far as like RAPP and IASK and central offices. So I'll talk about CU Boulder. We have a variety of different admin support in the departments. Our research institutes typically have something like RAPP or IASK within their institute. So they have those people talking directly with PIs and central office and being that intermediary. Our College of Arts and Sciences formed a group in the last 5 years that does that work for some of their smaller departments. But then we do have departments that don't have that support, and especially for pre-award proposals, they are on their own. So PIs are doing a lot of that work on their own. Most departments have the post-award support, but it's a huge benefit. Sometimes I hire staff in my central office, and I realize you're actually not a good fit for central office. You need to go sit next to PIs and do this work next to PIs. It's a different skill set and interest, but they get to know the PIs, they get to know the institute, the ins and outs there, and they can provide some real expertise there. I love the idea of having expertise in shared services too. So we talked a little bit about how we might handle F&A cuts in the future. And one thing we floated is, can we do more of a shared services model in some areas to make that more efficient? I also find with senior staff who've done the work for a long time, they can often do double the amount of work of an entry. So if you can keep people and have them in a shared services, your efficiency increases tenfold.
Questions? It's lunchtime.
Waiting for lunch.
Is this thing on now? So I'm Andy Ott from Northwestern University. I'm very curious about surveys of the core directors. So we survey our users and our PIs a lot. One, I'm interested in seeing what the survey looks like, but what are the main things that you're seeing from the core directors that they're wanting, and also what have you changed based on the surveys?
Yeah, that's a great question. Thanks. I think I don't need this, but I was told I have to use it. Okay, thanks. I'm totally kidding. That's a great question. Thanks. So our survey came out of the KPIs from development, and part of it was just about user satisfaction with us, just like your cores do with your stakeholders, right? And now I think it was supposed to have been done in March, so I have Monday to fix it. But one of the things I need to add is that last question about what can we do, or what should OHSU be doing for you that we're not currently doing. And what's hard is that if we ever leave a black box, nobody wants to fill out the black box. It's time consuming, et cetera. But I also don't want to put words into core directors' mouths. So it's almost like I should have a separate conversation with all the core directors, glean what maybe could be top 5, and then shove those into the survey. But it is all about, it's a very personalized request for information for me as the manager of these wrappers. Because I actually am asking someone like Steph in the back, hey, how are you doing with Dylan on a scale from 1 to 5? Is there anything I should know? Same thing with post-award. So I think that's what you were asking. It's not really about what we should do differently, but are we exceeding your expectations the way we were supposed to? Because if we're not, then they could cut our funding. And we want to supersede and not, So we've been at a 98% exceeding, and the 2%, I'll just be really honest, said that the contracts office sucks. And I was like, wait, that's not us. But anyway, we took it in stride, and we're helping fix the contracts office. So hopefully that helps. Yeah, thanks.
And I'll add one thing, some feedback that we got from our core directors regarding surveys is they wanted fewer surveys. So we made a very concerted effort, I think last summer, last fall, to think about all of the surveys that not only we, but different offices across campus were sending out to our core directors, and we worked to consolidate those into one survey, right? To reduce the numbers and reduce the amount of administrative burden that our core directors had to go through to complete those surveys, right? So we acknowledge that there's a balancing act between gathering information and then the burden of providing that information that we place on core directors throughout the year. Right.
So, hi, I'm Cynthia Gibbous. I'm from UNC Charlotte. Hello, neighbor. We are a recently, sort of pushed over the R1 threshold. And we are chronically understaffed in post-award. This is from a faculty perspective. Processes don't work all that well in a lot of places. And we're we got a big influx of CARES Act equipment for COVID surveillance a few years ago. And we're basically trying to pull together a genomics core out of that in an environment where our research division, people don't necessarily have a lot of experience with cores. There's not very, there's maybe one or two other cores that I know of on campus. And so our research division very kindly gave us some money and said, go to ABRF. Yes, we'll support you to do that. So if I'm going back into that environment, as you guys are, you built things up, what is the first thing our research division should do to get a handle on this so that it's not like the faculty having to push the stone uphill?
That's a great question.
So yeah, I mean, and just real quick, like I have a compliance background, and I think the most important thing that you need to do is make sure that you're in compliance, right, with the applicable rules and laws and regulations and uniform guidance and all that sort of stuff. Because the last thing that you want to do is set up a structure or a process or core facility, right, that does not meet the compliance standards, right? So I think that could be a building block, and that also can help inform some of those decisions, right, moving forward. Like, what do we do here? Like, what do we need a process for? And a lot of those compliance things revolve not only around financial, but obviously like scientific as well.
I'm just going to add, if it's really just the building blocks from getting a concept, from the concept to core and everything in between, Johns Hopkins has a really good tool. There's a website there, it's called Core in a Box. That's on their website, it's publicly available, they advertise it all the time. So go to their Core in a Box, and really they provide a step-by-step on all the blocks that you have to, touch, the stakeholders, the processes, the systems that you have to navigate to get a core from concept to.
I see everybody getting out their phones to make note about that.
We're going to shut down their system, yeah.
Right. Yeah, and then in the future, talk to me about a business skills workshop. We can come to you and really help you with some of the business administration aspects of keeping, getting the core going, the rate setting, the compliance part that Ben talked about, and some of those sustainability conversations. How do you, you have some funding to start a core, but that money might run out. How do you keep it running? How do you sustain it? How do you engage users? How do you strategically position yourself to serve the greater need of those people that have invested in you? So that's another resource.
And to talk about the compliance issue for finances for post-award is a very fickle beast unto itself, right? So a seasoned person might be able to manage $25 million, but if you hire someone under that, they're not going to be able to do that and stay at compliant levels. So I encourage your institution to hire someone for post-award sooner than later and not let it go too far. I mean, it impacts labor distribution, effort certification, all the good stuff that we talk about. So I think it's really important to hire someone and keep having these great conversations. You can contact us at OHSU too. We'll make Steve Cofield talk to you about how we do things. But yeah, the post-award, or hire a unicorn, maybe that could help with pre and post, but
I'm just going to tell them that they need to poach one of you guys from where you currently are.
You can do that from Ben or Justine's, but not from OHSU.
that's why I got the promotion.
Hi, I'm Morley from Stevenson Cancer Center, University of Oklahoma. So we are a very small place, and we have one person for proposal services. So I was just curious about, because this, whenever Jen, you were talking about, you had like some big team helping you for all the different kinds of proposal services, pre-award. I'm not talking about the post-award, pre-award. Eastern is going to be completely a different survey, a different ball game. So how did you convince people to help you on that? So every year you have to, like, how did you guys have a specific person, or how did you guys go about that?
So if I understand the question correctly, so what we're trying to do within RAPP is to, tell me if I'm going in the wrong direction. We try to use the greater population of research administrators at OHSU to answer specific questions.
Okay.
So I brought up T32s on purpose, right? Because that is a very siloed informational piece, and if you love doing those, then we should be having you do those. Because the rest of the research administrators do not want to touch those for pre-award. It's like it's like unraveling the cat with the ball, right? Is that kind of, I think, where we're going. So when we started and we had 2 people, they were very siloed. Now there were 6, now there's 23, and now we have a quarterly meeting of 65 pre-award people across the institution talking about what do you do, what do they do, what does that happen, because we are smarter together than we are apart. It's just like core directors. I encourage all of you to dig into your own institution and have these broader conversations. It's uncomfortable, yes. You can have somebody like me lead it, because I'll just try to make it not so uncomfortable. But the idea is that if I know that you're an expert in NRSA applications or foundation accounts, then we can utilize those strengths and have you work smarter and not necessarily harder. I know it sounds like a bad cliche, but I promise humans do this all the time.
No, I think you're right. I think we have some people who have different kinds of this, and I need to pull them together. That's a great idea. Thank you very much.
Yeah, no problem. No, anytime. And holler back if I can help in any other way. Yeah.
Well, I think,
Yeah, I was just going to say thank you to ABRF for having us.
Yes.
Thank you to Jen, Justine, and Andy, and thank you to Sarah. Oh, and Alexa.
and I know that we didn't have a lot of time for questions, but again, the offer is there to reach out and we can talk about it.
Yeah, and thanks for being a great group of people. Go team.
And we'll start a rent-a-gen for meetings.
Yeah, I always get. If it's worth doing, it's worth getting nervous about, right? Yeah.
Hey.
Oh, thanks. Yeah. Well, I try. I think it's. Start bringing it up. People are like, oh yeah, we'll go to the bar. Like, yeah, like a bunch of people that I gotta talk to about something I do all the time. All right, let's do it. Yeah. Hi.
Oh, like to.
Yes, I've seen you. I only know that because you have the same last name. Yeah. See, my wife and I were.
No, they're not related.
I think that's real weird to me, but like, that's my sister. I give a lot about my wife, so yeah. Yeah. I know, I heard great